They need to lock down this bomb site, make sure that they can't get the bomb down. Slimax taking out Raz though. Fantasy moves around. He's shooting at him. Oh.
The year's 2024, and we've seen probably the biggest change in gaming as a whole in the new modern era as we speak. I was driving around one day and something hit me. I miss playing COD 15 years ago, and I really miss my old TV. And yes, the old TV with the VCR, which gave me the biggest fucking skill boost of all time. That's not the true issue. The big issue is wondering, how the fuck do we even get here? So I started going into deep thought. People nowadays really don't understand what it was truly like. And the people that tell you this on YouTube, even they don't even know what it was truly like. You probably have at least heard 360 no scope once in your fucking life. And you don't even know where you heard that from or who you heard that from the first time, most likely. And if you do remember, it probably doesn't tie into what it truly meant to hit your first one. Trying to show off to your friends that you were as cool as, well, you know who. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, I'm going to give you a little history lesson today. So back in the early 2000s, there was a lot going on in my life, but the biggest things were sports, girls, being afraid of girls, getting bullied, Eminem, and video games. Now, a lot of who got into gaming when they were young fell into different subspaces of the world, and you probably met your now friends in totally different ways. Whether it was a one-off chance of meeting them in a sniper lobby in COD, playing Gears of War, Rainbow Six, Counter-Strike, and so on. But how I met my contemporaries were the Call of Duty 4. Many people who I've talked to outside the space I grew up in were not impressed with this game and said it was rather stale compared to the games like Modern Warfare 2. You and I remember Modern Warfare 2 very differently. Modern Warfare 2 for me was a big mess. Between getting spawn killed and not being able to see a goddamn thing, to dealing with my personal online friendships and going through tough times in high school, I did not like this era very much. Now, I don't want to get too much into like the mental health battles in this video because I have another one for that. But we're going to bring ourselves back to the golden days for me and why it was so special. Growing up, before there was high-speed internet, we had shitty dial-up, and some of the memories I have are Zelda, Mortal Kombat, Need for Speed, that fucking pinball game on our first computer at home, and Cartoon Network. It seems as if everything was perfect back then, like all the greens in the world were greener, and the air smelled fresh. I could come home from school, do whatever, and be happy to be at home. My family was actually a big influence to how I even got started gaming at all. On the early days of going to Granny's house, we played a ton of GoldenEye and Mario Kart. I loved every bit of it. Now, if you asked me today to play on an N64 controller, nah, bro. I'd probably decline as if it was too complex for me now anyways. But back then, it was a joy and it felt amazing. Hell, even my mom played, and I don't even think I've seen her play games since then. But now fast forward, my grandfather got a laptop at some point and a computer. But I remember back then internet was shit, and he had like the lowest AT&T plan you can get. There was no fiber, so I think our download speed was about 5 megabytes, and it was pretty ass. Now, through all the hell I went through in school, I remember getting addicted to my first online game, Alien vs. Predator 2. This game was insane. The detail about the aliens and being able to campaign through being an alien, predator, and a soldier all at once was fucking awesome. I love the weapons from the Colonial Marines, and being a little face hugger was so cool. Growing up, I seemed to always love the sci-fi stuff, and this game got me into the FPS world without even knowing, to be honest, even more than GoldenEye did. But then came a couple games no one's heard about, probably, called Dinky Bomb and Gunbound. Now, if you know about these games, you definitely deserve a badge, because bruh, these games were fucking sick. Like, how can something so simple be so fun? I remember playing Gunbound for hours on hours with my cousin, who is basically my brother, honestly. We even bonded through that game. It had a lot of things in common we didn't even know we had. And I'll always remember that him loading music, the maps, the cute characters, and the sound effects of all the mobiles that used to run in that game. Unfortunately, the fun came to an end, and I ended up moving on from that to play a couple other classics you guys may have heard, called Guns and Soldier Front. Now, I'm also not gonna jump into the many games I played in between, but if you know me, you're a real one. Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, and Kingdom Hearts are burned into my head. One more game I almost forgot to mention, and I'm not sure how, is Soul Blade, now known as Soul Calibur. My family and I would literally get so competitive and beat the shit out of each other playing that game, and it got so intense sometimes we would just have to stop playing altogether. I even remember the health bars were burned into the fucking TV. That's how much we played. We'd be watching like ESPN or whatever type of TV show, and you could still see the health bars at the top of the TV. Alright, enough backstory. We are not alike because through all the bullshit I had to get through to even make it to this game was unreal, but it also molded me into who I am, and it also paved the way for me to appreciate this classic, Call of Duty 4.
50,000 people used to live here. Now it's a ghost town.
Our so-called leaders prostituted us to the West, destroyed our culture, our economies, our honor.
U.S. Marines stationed on high alert were given the order to invade the small...
Time flies, bro. Time flies. And with that, we tend to begin to fathom what a game can represent to a person who just wants to come home, enjoy some decompression, and have all the laughs in the world with all the homies, people you never even met face to face before, right? And besides, oh my god, all the cringy moments I have on the internet during this time, I can honestly say I would still go back, relive all the times if I could, just to feel the happiest I've ever been. So let me explain how I got to it. One day, me and my brother were looking for a game at Blockbuster to play with my uncle and my dad, and I do remember seeing COD on Game Informer, and I've also seen a commercial of it too. I thought, damn, this looks really cool, you know? And with me getting older and really being wrapped up into sports, I didn't really gravitate towards it until I played it. And boys, let me tell you, the feeling I got was inexplicable, bro. I fell in love harder than I did my first crush, alright? But that nostalgia will never be replaced. My brother shared the same sentiment like the boomers that accompanied us, and we knew we had to buy this game. Now, this was when the best generation of pretty much everything came out, okay? Games, movies, sometimes music, and BBLs weren't a thing, alright? But not for real. Cars. The cars were fucking lit. From like 1998 to like 2006, 7. Now, the one thing I do remember specifically was being on Crossfire. I had like an M16 ACOG. I was holding down a building with my brother while trying to locate my dad and my uncle, and that was enough for me to be obsessed. Before this, I even played games like Rainbow Six and SOCOM, and even though those are amazing games, they never drew me into the fucking way this game did, and I don't know what it was. But fast forward to Christmas, I get an Xbox 360, and that was the biggest mistake in my dad's life. Researching how to get in an Xbox Live, how internet works at this point, and what I'd been missing from the original Xbox Live experience, I had to create a gamer tag. I was thinking, what's my name gonna be? My favorite band is Avenged Sevenfold this time. I love that one song called Clairvoyant Disease, and then boom, Clairvoyant D was born. I distinctly remember getting COD 4 somehow, probably begging my mom to get it, and I played for so many hours. I can't even tell you how I got to level 55. All I remember is that I love how this game played, looked, and sounded. But one interesting thing to me was the M48-3 and how it felt to pick people off using that sniper rifle. And for the time, I was pretty damn good at it too. Now nowadays, the PC player in me would clown a console player for how Amos is and all, but remember, this was a much simpler time. Crossplay did not exist, and there was no crazy ass skill-based matchmaking. Play the game, you were not disbanded unless the host of the game left, you left, or got disconnected somehow. So like networking and socializing with the ops was a normal thing. The same motherfucker that kept camping, pissing you off, or the best player in the lobby was there in your face the whole time until one of you backed out. Now, one thing a lot of you guys, I gotta call everybody out on this one. There's some sort of code of honor in staying in the lobby, trying to get back at the other team. A lot of you fucking pussies wouldn't stand a chance because you wanna back out because the guys are too good. Nah, we're not doing that. There's none of that back in the day. Whenever you played against the other team, you already were like wanting to win. Obviously, it's like the main objective, right? But when you could get back at somebody after losing, felt great. It was like getting that little sense of revenge immediately. And that was like the beauty of not backing out of lobbies consistently. And I know why they do that, but it was just a different time back then. We never backed down. We played countless hours against the same people until they backed out, or until we decided to back out. And I specifically remember never leaving lobbies until I got invited to another one, or it was time for me to get off. And the satisfaction you got when you finally beat the other team after all the shit talking, the constant dying to the same guy and trying to win over and over, it was unreal. It was like the best feeling ever to finally get that person back and that team back. And there was no merit to this. It was just like you got XP, got a level up, camo or attachment, and that was it. There wasn't the need to like tank your KD to get better lobbies because that didn't exist. And then through it all, I mean, I met some of the coolest people ever. And while I'm on the topic, I'm really like, for real, like genuinely sorry about how cringy I was at the time. And, you know, to all the people that like I developed friendships with, like I was wild back then. I ain't gonna lie, like I was super unfiltered, super crazy. Like I needed to be medicated at a young age and I never was, and yeah, I pretty much just paid the price for that. So, you know, once again, I just apologize to all the homies back then. But going back to the whole sniping thing, I really had a knack for it. Like I learned that attaching the ACOG scope made the gun one-shot kill, which I was like, there's no fucking way. And Infinity Ward never decided to nerf this or fix it, so it just became like the thing in COD 4, including like the bounces off sandbags and other goofy stuff like elevators and rocket jumping. COD had some really like game-breaking stuff that didn't ruin the gameplay at all. Unless you were like on the casual side, getting bent over by snipers, there literally wasn't much you could bitch about. Now for snipers, it was Jug and Last Stand, but even then, if you could beat those guys, you're considered even better at the time. Somehow I managed to get into YouTube at this point. I think it was probably around like, you know, lunchtime, break time, whatever at school. And then you finally just hop on the computer and then you discover something like YouTube, for example, or, you know, like how you used to embed music on like, probably like a website like MySpace. Pretty sure that's how we got into YouTube because YouTube became the norm, grabbing music and all that kind of stuff. Or I'm not too sure how it happened, honestly, but anyways, you know, found out about that shit and it forever changed my life because when YouTube first started, it was nothing like how it is today. You just take a video, upload it, you know, simple as that. Well, now the formula still stays the same pretty much. The whole Google and UMG shit, you're limited to what you upload and how it plays out, like, especially if you want to get paid. I know a lot of people, you know, talk about copyright and all that kind of stuff, and I get it. It sucks. YouTube back then, there was a couple YouTube channels that really broke the mold and changed the gaming culture forever. And that, my friends, machinima in Zergris. I was at my grandma's house one day, and at this point my cousin and I discovered like quick scoping and like no scoping, and we were like obsessed with it. We were just trying to outdo each other, like do the crazy shit, and we were shitting on other teams. So we rack up about 40 to 50 kills a game, if not more than that. And even back then, I mean, that was like ridiculous. It even came to a point where sniper lobbies became a thing because everyone was trying to do the same shit, and we were all like no scoping each other, quick scoping each other, like stacking up 4 to 5 kills on kill feed, back-to-back collabs, the occasional triple. Like, we were both pretty much at our peaks at that time. And so one day I'm on the phone with Keon, and he's like, bro, you gotta watch this video. Like, this dude's name is Grizz. He's fucking crazy. And I remember seeing his name pop up in the YouTube comments of the old Call of Duty PC videos, and I'm like, who the fuck is this? I was blown away. This dude was jumping off buildings, doing 360s and shit. Mans was doing no scopes from like football fields away, and I'm just glued to the screen. I could not fucking believe what I was watching. Like, I was in awe. So my cousin and I started watching all his videos. I'm like, bro, we can do better than this shit. You know, like, I believe we were so good that like we could do this. So I'm trying to figure out how to record YouTube videos because I saw Grizz this like competition. I knew, you know, like I knew I was a great player, but I had doubts that I could even beat this dude. So I'm like, all right, I got to get recording software somehow. So eventually I get a capture card, get my own laptop, and I just start trying to hit clips. I was going harder than ever. Like, I'm trying every single lobby, craziest, most ridiculous shit, and I was doing some outrageous stuff, like stuff I can't even, you know, replicate now. And my goal was still to be better than everybody, but especially him. So even though I was trying my hardest to beat him, I really did admire his videos and gameplay. Dude has such a smooth approach to his play that I couldn't help but recognize him as a real GOAT, especially with the clips he hit. Now, before even watching him, I never even saw a fucking 360 no scope. I just remember knowing I had to figure out what I could do better, so I started making my own videos. I got my little following, but I still wasn't really known. I did, though, meet, you know, content creators back then, like Agony. He used to make, the brothers used to make Halo videos back in the day. I met ACOG IV, Rexscope, like a lot of cats. I even met Kyle8, iBlackouts as well. Now, to my normal following, these people are, you know, everyone knows who these people are, but most of the COD community nowadays don't even know who these people are. I even remember Hutch DMing me on YouTube and saying like one of my videos was sick as fuck. And that was the back in the day where you can actually message each other on YouTube, and it was like totally different. But everybody was, you know, pretty humble and like small community, and it was all because of sniping, to be honest with you. But it seemed like YouTube COD was starting to like explode. Everybody wanted to get in on this. So many people started popping up, making amazing content. It was all to showcase their skill in the game. While Frag movies had beautiful graphics and very smooth rendering due to how the recording process worked, people like me didn't have that luxury, especially because I love playing on my old shitbox TV and VCR. Now, eventually I did get to meet Grizz and the legends with him. And shout out to Yusuf Sniper, that's my dog, because he put me on the map. You know, he helped promote my video that was coming out at the time, I'm Immortal, which if you ever watched it, you already know, check that video out. But going back, when I finally stalked Grizz's lobby, got to play against him in a couple games. I remember being so fucking nervous and excited because I was like, holy shit, this is him. Like, dude is a fucking out of this game. Did end up playing against him and getting no love, no recognition. It's like, damn. Even though I dropped like 70 kills against him on Overgrown, and I was like, come on, bro. Like, that's pretty impressive, you know? But anyways, skimming forward a little bit, at this point I've made some awesome friends, but I was still like an angsty teenager. I finally got my chance against Grizz again later on, Call of Duty World of Warcraft. And COD 4 was still going strong. Obviously, the next COD dropped, and you know, everybody was taking the opportunity to play the game, get some gameplay out, trying to get some views and everything. And it was a really nice way of showing like we didn't need the ACOG M40 to be good players. Like, everybody had Rexscope, and the sniping was a little bit slower, but it still felt good. And because the gameplay wasn't as crazy back then, I actually like stood a chance to go against people with red guns, even though you were sniping. It wasn't like the most awful thing. Now, you know, nowadays it's like you're trying to snipe a guy and he's sliding and he's jumping and he's diving and he's sliding He's like dodging your bullets, and yeah, just there was none of that. So the game was so much easier, but it still took skill because I mean you can get deleted in like 2 seconds with like any gun, but you know, I digress. Call of Duty World at War is a fucking horror game. Not only does it have the creepiest music ever and really dark colors throughout this entire game, it also has like a lot of grit. And there's vulgar language involved. Reshaped my love for history when I was still in school, honestly, because it was in the era that I liked studying the most, which was about World War II. And seeing the World War II guys duke it out and go against each other on the coolest maps, old school guns, it's really a breath of fresh air from my Call of Duty experience. This definitely was the time I shined the most, but I also felt like shit because I was so obsessed with like impressing Grizz and hitting clips. I started to really like lash out at my own friends, like Lactor, who was my boy at the time. You know, I just felt really bad. It was like so stupid of me, and I was depressed. I was like really depressed. This is why like old Kai era is a double-edged sword for me. The young me, he didn't know how to control his emotions and was really caught up in trying to be the best, but also never, you know, thinking about other people and always thinking for myself. And I was just taking on personalities and emotions around me, and I wasn't like just being the genuine person, you know, that I am. But as a collective experience with all of the burdens of balancing school, life, and gaming, I still want to go back. I mean, I was so locked in and just have fun playing the game every single day that I could, man. I'm spoiled. I'm spoiled by having the GOAT Call of Duty games back to back and being like, yeah, you know, I was there, I was a part of that. And a lot of you guys can probably relate to that as well. But there's so many of you that can't, and it sucks that you guys can't, but it's just, you know, it's all based on timing, right? All based on the era that we grew up in, because a lot of you is probably Modern Warfare 2 was your first Call of Duty. But although I'm completely forgotten about, minus a few cool guys out there, I will never forget my roots. Even though people today will never understand how montages caused us to be so competitive and push the boundaries of editing skills and gameplay combined, it didn't stop there. Nowadays, the clips I see are so fucking ridiculous and the editing is so intense, it really does kind of kill it for me. But it silently sparks the ambition as well to jump back into things. Now, before I get into why I don't love the newer Call of Duty games as much, you know, I think I did like about certain ones, I want to share this. While I'm glad COD grew immensely in popularity, a lot of you have inspired the devs to make awful changes to the game. The biggest being killing quickscoping and sniping culture as a whole. It definitely was a controversial thing, and it still can be today. But before all the mega money tournaments and crazy obsession with competitive play amongst everybody, and the fun and casual side was everything I've told you. Not once did I even mention that at times I played game battles, but even then the casual COD experience was still better because of its simplicity and great, you know, gameplay mechanics. While it may seem bland and boring to the new school, you guys are so spoiled. I have no clue what it's like to see the game you really love get shattered. At this time, as time went on, people's voices on social media and YouTube really caused a lot of ruckus. The Call of Duty games started, you know, becoming very different, and there was still hope, but they all have that same experience. A couple personal favorites of mine are Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 1. And yes, I did say Black Ops 1, not 2, not 3. But why? Because it felt the closest to Call of Duty 4, but with like way more options. You know, the cool camos, customization, and you know, there was still great balance. When COD first introduced perks back in COD 4, it changed FPS games forever. So many people still copy off Call of Duty perks, the gunplay, and other ideas they've produced till this day. But also with perks like Stopping Power and Juggernaut, it allowed the devs to balance the actual gunplay without making one gun massively OP and then another one suck ass. If you equipped Stopping Power, it gave you exactly what you're looking for, more powerful gun. Even though we created the meta of Bando, Stopping Power, and Dead Silence, it didn't mean you had to play this way. In fact, I still died to a lot of people using other perks and not using the same ones that we use because it was just how it was back. And Jug was a counter to stopping power, so a lot of times they cancel each other out, and it was very, very smart of Infinity Ward to have that. It almost makes you think of like League of Legends or games similar where you have to think about how you're rolling in a battle. While certain guns in competitive play were used quite a lot throughout the community, you could still get shit on by the classic silencer, heartbeat sensor dickhead who sat around playing Search and Destroy all day. Call of Duty was simple. No gunsmith, bullet drop, all the new shit has cooked our brains, boys. I'm telling you, bro. Go play an old Call of Duty game with hit scan right now and tell me that shit doesn't feel great. It's just like CS2 players complaining about subtick. We have regressed our favorite games. Now, while Valve have no reason to what they did at all, Sledgehammer and Treyarch know better. It seems like the classic Call of Duty players were bored at the time, and everyone was craving a new Call of Duty besides the same old. Well, you guys got what you wanted, and are you really happy? You guys like disbanding every lobby, playing against a new set of players all the time? No more connecting and meeting new people and befriending your enemies? No more late night grinds against the same players all the time? Casual play because everyone claims they want to be a CDL god now? We have simply fucked everything up, and there's no fixing this. Hell, you could even still go play Call of Duty 4 on PC and download the pro mod files and play in those public matches and still have a much better experience against those sweaty assholes than just shit you get now on the fucking public lobbies. And can we just talk about Pro Mod for a second? Let me educate you guys on just how perfect Pro Mod is. You see, when Call of Duty stopped giving players creative freedom, started forcing everything to the community, we started missing out on some of the greatest creations. Whether it be those awful skins you found at public PC lobbies, crazy ass music and custom maps, but most of all, Pro Mod. Now, without boring you guys too much, even though I shit on everyone wanting to be comp players because I do think competition breeds greatness, the results we get now are not the same because there's no real separation between the sweats and the casuals. So Pro Mod is essentially a perfected version of Call of Duty. Can't cook nades, can't use any attachments besides silencers, there's no LMGs, there's only one sniper per team, and the movement was so buttery smooth, it made you want to drool. Pro Mod is a perfect example of one of your favorite streamers discovering a game and bringing an entire community into it, and then that's the game that they, revive in that time. Yeah, this is the game that they need to revive, like right now. I love Among Us, but we all need to be boycotting the next Call of Duty and playing Pro Mod until they decide to give us creative freedom again so people can show off their talents and make awesome games, allow PC players to have their own world and console players to have their own world as well. Now, I appreciate crossplay because I can play with the homies without leaving the comfort of my little cozy cave, but something's gotta give. I don't care if the player count is low on PC. You have to understand, brand identity at this point is way more fucking important than a goddamn battle pass and goddamn Warzone. Oh, and you're welcome for Warzone, by the way, because that couldn't have been possible without Arma 3. Only the real ones know, okay? But anyway, Pro Mod essentially died as a game because the community eventually had to move on, just like I need to too. But I refuse because I know the difference between a good game and a great game. Arma 3's Battle Royale was great, while PUBG's was good. Apex Legends is pretty damn good, but Warzone is arguably better. At this point though, it's just battle of the mid, and I used to be very gung-ho about defending COD's legacy and try to off anybody who had a problem with COD because it brought me many great memories along the way. But everyone shouted their opinions, said all the things that they didn't want, didn't like, begged for other things, and then when COD developers delivered exactly that, everyone shitted on the game they just made. It's almost fucking laughable that everyone literally is like, fast COD gameplay and boots on ground. And then when they do it, everyone's like, never mind, I'm fucking retarded. Like, bro, you literally fucking asked for this game. And don't get me wrong, I love a lot of this stuff that COD has done. One of the biggest vetoes for COD was the option of create a character, which is, my favorite feature in any game created. But instead, they allowed us to play the clown from Terrifier, Michael Myers, and Nicki Minaj. Fucking Nicki Minaj. In a world of BBLs and the hypocritical thirst-trapping women, the last thing COD needs is Nicki Minaj. And I love her, but We need buttery smooth strafing, fast ADS sniping, smoother gun switching and weapon canceling, classic maps with good ones thrown in, and good old classic matchmaking. Fast forward to now, while I think 2019 Modern Warfare is the best COD we've gotten so far out of the new batch, the sliding and diving bullshit needs to go. We need that back to reality moment. Everyone needs to fucking snap out of it. We're locked in our phones, losing interest in the things that made us have fun and get away from all the bullshit in life in the first place. And we're just rotting away with the only good games being single player games now. I've never wanted to play Resident Evil more in my life until now. I literally don't have any interest in Black Ops 6 because while the game looks amazing, the maps seem good, and the sniping feels decent for how slow it is, the game is just way too fast, and the perk system sucks donkey cock. There's no creative character, and I swear to God, if we get another BBL queen in this game, I'm gonna lose my shit. Remember when I said COD 4 and World at War earlier had the different dynamics between them and how they made me feel? Ask yourself, do you feel that when you play these newer games? I bet you don't. And yes, while you can't replace nostalgia with new nostalgia, you can still make a good fucking game. It just takes the community, some hardworking individuals, and less thirsting over money to get there. But we never will, and that's the flat out truth. We will never go back to the glory days. That's why Counter-Strike will remain king. Other games will come and go, and COD will continue to exist until it finally does it. I'm gonna leave off with this. You guys killed the game. We killed the game. It's not Sledgehammer's fault entirely, and it sure as hell isn't Treyarch's either. But with the combination of the feedback and people being obsessed with graphics, sales metrics, competitive play inside casual settings, and wanted to get their little ego stroked, we will never have a great Call of Duty game ever again.